Hi, and welcome to the Higher Education Access Corner. I am your host, Tiffanie Devan, and today I have back with me Ronald Felder and Dr. Danielle Martin. If you all were listening to episode 18, they came on and joined me and they were giving us the parent's perspective. So we're going to call this the parent's perspective, but the remix. We want to find out where things are. It's been about a year. How are you doing with your kids? So first, just to start off, I just want to ask Danielle to tell us a little bit just about herself, because you had a proud accomplishment. When you were on here last time, it was Danielle Martin. Now we are Dr. Danielle Martin. So tell us a little bit about your journey, how you wrapped up into becoming Dr. Danielle Martin.
Okay, right. So I finished in the spring of 23. So I just walked in graduation this past May. Yay. Thank you. I finished with my daughters. So they graduated from high school in 23. I finished my program in 23. So that was just a major accomplishment for our entire family. A very proud moment. And so here we sit, right? Okay. We've had a lot of things happen this year with them transitioning to college and just, blessings and life lessons. And so I'll leave it there because we'll get into it.
Because we're going to unpack a little bit more.
We'll unpack some of that.
All right. Yeah. And Ron, since you were last here, anything you want to share about us? I know you have a new role or a different role with Baki. So I don't know if you want to talk about, what you've been doing since then. Anything about Baki, and Danielle's also involved with Baki. But if you want to give them a shout out or do that or just for yourself, let us know.
Well, shout out to the Pennsylvania Black Conference on Higher Education. I am the new Eastern Regional Director, so I will be pushing forward our initiative, and actually we're working on planning our up-year conference that will be held in Philadelphia. So that's what we're working on right now. I'm also in the works behind the scenes with the Emerging Leadership Program with Dr. Danielle. So we're working on that initiative as well too, and just moving forward as an access partner in Philadelphia.
All right.
And today is a big day in Philadelphia because, as we know, our vice president is there. She just announced who her vice president-elect will be. So that's pretty interesting. So
Philadelphia is popping right now.
Philadelphia is extremely popping right now. So,
and for those of you all listening in, obviously this is a pre-recorded session.
Absolutely.
So it's when we say today, we don't mean the day that you all are listening.
Correct.
Another thing for those who didn't go back and listen to 18, but I encourage everyone to go back and listen to episode 18. I'm one of the access partners. Ron, as he mentioned, is a higher education access partner, and he covers the entire Philadelphia area. So
that's right, that 215.
All right, so good stuff. Last time we were here, we were talking about your son was about to start his second year?
Yeah, second year.
Second year at Westchester?
Second year.
Yeah.
Interesting. Second and a half, because he will actually be he'll be a senior in January because his high school credits transferred over, so it pushed him up. So he'll be graduating early.
Go Jaden.
Yeah.
All right.
That's awesome.
All right.
Yeah.
And Danielle, your girls were about to start at Temple.
Yes.
Both
They're
of them.
about to start their freshman year, so now we're moving into sophomore year. And we are students in the Tyler School of Art.
All right. So now let's break this out a little bit. Last year, we had lots of advice, lots of fears, lots of real conversation for those families on, this is where we're at. How do you encourage your kids to pursue their passion, pursue their careers, get them ready to start that freshman year? So I know before we were talking about the planning process, having them look at schools, look at different majors and get ready, and showing them the vulnerability that comes with, just life lessons and you all being vulnerable. How has this past year been? How did it go? You had great advice for them? How did it work?
You go first.
No, doctor. No, doctor.
He said chivalry is not dead. So.
That's right.
So lots of life lessons, right? There was a transition for the entire house. So parents who are extremely close to your kids, as I am, we are really close in our house. That was something to deal with. So I think we have to recognize that your kids are not just going through a major transformation, but so are you. The other thing I think we need to recognize is that we are asking young people, 18-year-olds, to go off out into the world to make major decisions after they've been under your thumb their entire life, right? And their brain, isn't even really fully developed until they're 25, right? So we're asking them to move somewhere, move to a different city, make decisions. We're asking them to do all of the things. So I think that one of the things that I had to do was recognize that, be patient and be gentle with them as they make this step, but also be patient and gentle with myself, right? I'm in this sphere every day on the daily. This is what I do, but I had lots to learn as a parent. So this is my first time on the parent side of it. So, those real deadlines, that was a lot for me.
So let me pause and break that just a little bit, because you were saying, this is that first time. So and don't share more, because this is your kids' lives. So I want us to go lightly. Don't share anything that they're not comfortable with you all sharing. So if I ask something and you're like, no, I don't know if they'll want me to share that. Please don't. But what were some moments like where, let's say, hey, they were faced with a challenge and it's kind of like, I know I've prepared them for that. Were they ready to just go ahead and figure it out? Or was it, hey, mom, hey, dad, hey, did they need that reassurance? Or did you kind of feel like, okay, they've got it made, their time management skills are on point, they're checking with the resources that they need? Or was there
I have to say that I'm really proud in the way that they transitioned. I think in my case, having twins, they have each other. Mm-hmm. So if I'm not there, then at least one of them is going to say, hey, remember mom said,
okay,
or hey, we should be doing this. So that's my saving grace a little bit. But I think with the load that they had in high school, coming from being a student, coming from being heavily involved in like the arts and music and those things, they learned how to balance then. So they were able to carry that over. It's just some other things that I had to step back and let them do. Sometimes you have to kind of let them trip a little bit so they can see. Because my message also is, I'm not always going to be here. So let's just say
you are not a helicopter mom.
No, okay. No, I'm not a helicopter mom.
Okay.
Because in this profession, helicopter parents drive me crazy. So I try not to be that parent. Mm-hmm. So just as an example, registration. Hey, remember you need to register by this date, or the classes that you want, you're not going to get. Okay. All right, mom. Hey, did you check your email? Because you need to register by this date, or the classes you want, you're not going to get. Okay, mom. I gave you 2 reminders. So when you call me and say, oh man, now I got to take 8 o'clock classes and that. So sometimes I think we need to be able to loosen the grip, and maybe I'm not going to let you fall, but I'm going to let you trip. Mm-hmm. So you can experience that, and then next time you know what to do and how to handle that.
What about you, Ron? A little different for you because this is year 2.
Yeah, well, too. This was a interesting year because I watched him grow up. And I watched him mature, and I watched him find his college family, because we all know when you go to college, you find a family that fits you for the future. And I watched him develop into a young man I'm extremely proud of, and he made some choices that sometimes I was like, all right, are you sure? But then he was very conscious of being held responsible for the actions that he did in freshman year, of why he had to make the choices that he had to do this year. And he lived off campus, so he realized he does not like certain roommates and how certain styles. So he understood the balance of, hey, you got to pay your electric bill. So he had to go get a job. He had to pay for his own stuff. He had to pay for his own groceries. That was different to hear him say, hey, I just ordered Shipt. For those who know, Shipt is like the electronic shopping order. So he had to be home for that. It was different. He joined a fraternity, which was great, following his path as his father's, which was amazing for me. And he chose a major at the end of the year, which was very, I don't know if it was heart fulfilling, like it made me tear up because I didn't expect for him to go into the medical field.
So that's where he went. So let's pause
Yeah,
there
so,
because
yeah,
last year
he was definitely
he wanted to work for ESPN.
He made it
Okay.
he is going into speech pathology.
Okay.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I was like, okay,
Yeah.
this is what we're doing. But he also is very aware that dad's not paying for grad school. So he knows I have to, he's thinking now for the next steps. But I'm pretty confident he's going to be okay. He just is doing him, as they would say. I still hold him to a high standard, so he knows this is what it is. But he's more vocal now about what he's doing than he was in the past.
And you know what I like also in the beginning, you were saying, you know, he was into the ESPN thing, and you were saying you wanted them to choose the career. Like, okay, if you choose the career, now choose the path. Like, choose your schools, do this. He found the school. He still changed paths, but based off of either the experience he learned at school, what you all instilled in him, or maybe a combination thereof, he found his niche. And I think that's a beautiful piece for students to go away. Wherever you start, you don't have to finish there. So if you get there and you're taking other classes and you find a major that really works for you, and you find a different career path, he was still able to pivot.
Yeah.
Make the adjustment.
Yeah, it was
and
different.
say, hey, let's do this.
It was different. So when he brought it to the table, he sat us down, my wife and I down, and I was like, all right, I thought we were in trouble. I thought he was about to say something. I was just like, because one thing as a parent, you never want your kid to say, hey, can we have a family conversation, and I need to talk, and I need you to listen. That's scary for a parent because you don't know what's about to happen.
Right.
And he was like, hey, I picked my major, and I want to do this. Okay. Like, could you just send me a text on that next time?
No, that was exciting.
But, I didn't need all the dramatics to it, but, but it was good. But I'm really just impressed of how his friends, his circle, his family, I'll call him his family, because they all hold each other accountable. And we didn't have that luxury of watching Jaden, that's our son's name, having friends come over in high school. He wasn't that kid. We didn't even see a friend. He didn't go to his prom. He didn't do a senior trip. He was like, I'm good with none of that. So for him to have now friends coming through our house, calling us, and him going to other schools, traveling.
So you're watching him blossom in a whole
It is a
way.
whole different, and him having a popular social media thing. I'm like, whose kid is this? And, so it's cool. So, but he's extremely engaged in his classes. So that was my thing of just making sure you're learning. So it's cool.
I love how all the things that you teach them as they're growing up, sometimes you think that they lose it.
Yeah.
And they get to this point and it's like, oh, okay, you heard me. All right. So I feel like for me, like I'm transitioning from mommy to now I'm coaching you up on how to be a young adult and how to just function in the world, right? Like, did you say that?
Yes. So I'm turning into assistant. I'm not a head coach. I'm just an assistant coach.
Now?
Your wife is the head coach.
100%. I'm definitely the assistant coach to say, if you do this, the outcome is that.
Right.
So if you want to do it, but I like
it's
that.
a different conversation.
I don't feel like I'm not the heavy disciplinarian. Like you know what it is. You know the outcome. Right. It's a conversation.
Do you know when it switched for you?
After his fall semester, after he joined his fraternity, he came home differently.
Okay.
He moves different now, and I can see him. He still kind of annoys me how he doesn't get up early enough. He still does that no.
Oh, Ron.
20-year-old, like, I'm going to sleep till 11 o'clock in the morning. Like, like you just missed like half the day. But it's weird because the conversations and how he moves.
So the importance, if you can, is on finding people with like interests, like-minded. Because, you can go to school and sometimes the people that they connect with, you're not equally yoked. Your morals, your values, how you were raised, sometimes they can be different. And then there's peer pressure for some. So any advice for, parents or even students who are listening with, if they want to fit in, or maybe even they think they don't. They're kind of like, I'm in my zone and I'm okay. And folks who want it ready to interact. How do you choose, and how do you find the confidence, the courage to say, these are not my people? Or how do you, any advice for them?
I think part of that is intuition. Like you gotta trust your gut. If something doesn't feel right, it's most times it's not right. But also I feel like, what's the saying? When people show you who they are, you have to believe what you see. And that is so very true even in adulthood. But really on college campuses as you're getting to know people. So if you have friends and you know that you don't drink, you don't smoke, that's not your thing, then why are you rocking with people who do and make some other decisions that you don't? And so I think it's not always important to fit in. It's not always, the thing to be popular. What you should do is the right thing, as cliche as that might sound. But you have to, going back to your point, you have to be okay with the consequence of the decision that you make today. So if you're at a party and you're underage and it's going to be alcohol, you made that decision. So whatever the outcome of that is, be ready for it.
And that's not always
and as the young people say, stand on business.
Right.
What's your decision,
Absolutely.
right? But you have to be able to deal with the consequence.
I like what Dr. Danielle said. I think it comes to trust, and then involvement. You just got to try everything in college to figure out which one fits best for you. And I think from watching Jaden go through it, there were some things he just did not want to do. And I had to just trust that he was doing the right thing for him. And when he found his family, he just blossomed. But I remember that freshman year, he was with the wrong crew. And he was, it was shaky in
He
there.
had some challenges.
What? No, that wasn't challenges. I was like,
I'm trying to be
listen,
kind here.
no.
He just had some challenges.
That was like the
right?
Olympic hurdle. That was like the
keep going.
listen. Watch it, man. Man, it was painful.
So the lessons for the parents, because you're watching this play out.
Yeah.
Do you stand back? Or are you like, let me come in and skirt this, because they're young adults?
I think it depends on your child.
Okay.
I don't envy the parents who send their children to colleges where they just cannot sometimes physically go visit them fast. Because if something like this happens, we were lucky enough that we was only 45 minutes away. I could just drive and go see him. If he was like in Georgia or something, that would have been a really, really hard fix. Especially because, I think finance first. If they would have kicked him out or whatever the case be, hey man, this is money that we lose. But it's all about communication. And actually, as they get older, you got to hold them accountable for their actions. Cause and effect is real.
Yeah.
And don't make them comfortable, because they think they can always come back and be okay. Mom and dad will fix it. Sometimes mom and dad can't fix what
That's
you did.
important. Because especially at this age, because a lot of times, whether we're talking just life choices, career choices, some of the things that students and young people are doing, and everything it's on social media, so it's a click here, a click there, and it's not going away. Sometimes they're making these choices, and then when they realize the consequences, you know what? Now you have to choose a different path because you've kind of skirted this one by your actions. So I think it's really important that all students and parents really help young people to understand, there's accountability, but let's see what we can be proactive about, so that, and it's something simple as, a lot of students, just like when we're talking to them in high school, everyone wants to be tatted up everywhere. You know what? But then they say these are certain professions they want to go into. They don't allow you to have visible tattoos. So it could be something just that simple that just says you're about to make a permanent decision about that you're going to do with your body, or something that's different. Now, we're not talking about behavioral changes. We're talking about credit. We can be talking about anything that applies. So I think it's important that, students understand it, parents understand it, and they reinforce it. But I think it's also nice if students are aware of the adults who are good resources when they get to these schools, because sometimes they look out for you, and they're connected, and you can say, hey, you know what, I made some bad choices. What can I do? I can't get to my parent. My parent can't get care, or I'm not comfortable sharing. or maybe my parents not around. So I think it's good to hear that, Jaden started out in one direction, but he pulled in what you all, pulled into him, was able to make some changes, rebound, and he's doing great now. So I think that's a great message for the families who don't have someone there. For those students, find someone, find your person, find that resource, if not in the schools and the communities, to kind of help you out, to mentor you, to get you back on track. Because I always say it might be a mistake, but it doesn't mean it's the end for you when it comes to anything.
You said something about being uncomfortable, and I just think, if you're not uncomfortable, you're not growing. And that's for the parent and the student. Just thinking about a time where they decided that they were going to just go travel around Philly. Now, they were with some friends, and they're in the School of Art. And so what they do is they take a lot of field trips, not field trips, but, trips to the art museum or just throughout the city. And me not being there or close to Philly, I'm like, ooh, y'all getting ready to get on the bus? Y'all getting on the subway? Like, what is happening? But I had to be able to relinquish. That was uncomfortable for me. So there's growth there. And I'm sure it was uncomfortable for them, but of course they didn't tell me till after they did it.
There you go.
Which was a good thing for me, because I'd have been like, don't do it. But they have to be able to get around. They have to learn those things. So they have to be uncomfortable in that sense. I'm in a new environment. I need to know how to maneuver.
Absolutely.
I'm in North Philly.
You got to be adaptable.
We know what North Philly looks like, so I need to adapt to that. So there's if you're not uncomfortable, and that's just an example, but if you're not uncomfortable in anything, you're not growing.
Right. You got to be challenged.
You have to be able to be challenged
and move through it.
And move through.
Totally agree. Yeah. For that person who's saying, but it's scary, I'm uncomfortable, and I'm going the other way, because you get that a lot, especially with students, and you also get it with their parents. They're like, nope, I'm moving away because I need to get to the comfort level. How do you do that? Is it just do it? Again, if I'm talking to someone that's like, yeah, but I'm afraid. Okay, you're afraid. Do it anyway. You're going to still be afraid, but do it anyway. Any advice to help you overcome, to say, okay, you know what, I'm uncomfortable. Is it when you're uncomfortable? Okay, so when I'm uncomfortable, I come up with a plan. I write it down. I create a schedule. I talk to someone. Like, any advice for someone to kind of work through the feelings of discomfort?
Well, from a parent perspective, telling your child, I'm about to say something. I know Dr. Danielle is about to look at me like, I'm very blunt and cold. Hey, do it. If you fail, let me know how that works out. If you succeed, let me know how that works out. Real simple. And he just looks at me with like the deer in the headlights, like, huh? What you just said? Just go do it. But if you have reservations, think about the outcome. If this is going to benefit you, cool. If it's not, then don't do it.
So you really just treat them like that young adult and saying it's in your hands to make these decisions and navigate this thing called life.
I love that. I love the difference in parenting styles, right? So I'm more of the teacher modeling, scaffolding, right? So I'm going to show you what to do. I'm going to show you how to do it. And the step 2 is I'm going to do it with you at the front. And then the third is you can do it yourself. That's if I can do it, right? If it's a situation that I can do it in. It might be having that conversation. Okay, here's what you can do. 1, 2, 3. Pick your avenue and let me know how that works out for you. One thing I'm glad about that I did do for them is I showed them how to network early. And they used to be like, Mom, you know everybody. Well, now you're glad I know everybody.
You do.
We're not going to talk about that. But I showed them that early so that now when they got on campus, they weren't really relying on my connections. They knew how to do it. Okay, I need to go and talk to this professor about that, and we're going to establish a relationship. I was very proud of that. I was proud of them for that. Yeah.
Nice. And so here's a question. So for the student, because not just networking, advocacy is a piece of that, it sounds like, as well.
Absolutely.
For what you're saying. So whether you need to talk to that professor, or you need to go talk to someone in financial aid, you need to talk to someone who could possibly open up the door for you to get into a specific career. Networking is key. Advocacy is key. When did you start that with them? Or was it something kind of like they just saw you doing it and they picked it up?
I think it's a little bit of both.
Okay.
And so we started having those conversations in middle school. And again, with the whole modeling, scaffolding thing. So me showing them how to do it, them being with me in places in public, them actively getting to see me do it. But this year, I had one of them who had allergy-induced pneumonia.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
So during the semester, I'm not there.
I don't even know what to do. I'll be nervous.
Right.
What?
So, all over the place, like, oh my gosh. But at the same token, you got to muster up enough strength to be able to reach out to your professors to let them know what is going on with you as to why you're not coming to class.
Right.
They recognize you're not coming to class because you're not the type of student.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't just not come to class.
Right.
Right? So, she was able to get it together enough and advocate for herself. Hey, Dr. So-and-so, this is what's happening with me. What can I do? I'm not able to be there, and kind of negotiate and work that out. And it worked well for her. She did a very good job, and she got it together and ended up having a very successful semester. But that's something that could potentially happen. Your kids get sick and you're not there.
Right.
And so I think parents, our thing initially, especially mothers, like, oh my God, my baby. I couldn't do that. I did it, without her being able to see it.
Yeah.
But I had to be able to say, all right, Ashley, this is what needs to happen. And Erin, because I have twins, as her sister, follow up with her. And if she needs help in that, so I have a benefit in that, we got a built-in bestie there. But so she had to be able to do it. There are things that I can't do for you, and I'm not always going to be here to do. So here's the blueprint. Here's the roadmap. Whether you choose to follow it.
Cause and effect.
So here's something that I'm wondering. So a whole year has gone by, and the way you all were kind of saying, like, where you thought they would be versus now, some of the things spot on. Some of the things, not so much. Pleasantly surprised, right?
Absolutely not. I didn't
What
see
are,
this one coming.
and you don't have to even be speaking just from your own kids because you both work with children all the time. Excuse me. For those who don't remember from the podcast, Danielle is at Temple, but she has an extensive background. She used to be a teacher and everything else. And for those who are looking, go back to episode 18. You'll hear her full bio. You'll hear Ron's full bio. But with all of the experience, whether it's your kids or not, for those who are listening in, what are 2 or 3 characteristics that you think every college student should have by the time they're moving into their sophomore year that will really help to propel them into the young adults they need to be going into their profession?
Vocal confidence. They have to be able to talk for themselves or just talk to somebody that they're uncomfortable with. They have to be able to be adaptable to different ethnicities. Just because you come from a certain area of the state doesn't mean that somebody else can relate to you. You have to understand there's a difference between a city kid and a suburban kid.
I would add to what you're saying, risk taking. So you're talking about Jaden and him finding his family and, you stepping out and trying something new. Because you don't know what that club, what that organization, you don't know how that's going to benefit you. And it will. And having an open mind, I think.
Definitely being.
To your diversity point.
Just being open to it.
Yeah. One of the things for my girls is that is why they chose Temple, because Temple has so many, just different kind of students. People from different countries and, people from up around the way or, they ended up finding some folks here that, oh, you're from Harrisburg too? Okay, great. But then, oh, Mom, I have this friend, she's from India. And that was great. That was a great experience for them. So I love your list.
And well, I forgot one more.
Mhm.
I like the boundaries that he has set up. Like there's certain people I'm just like, hey, are you still friends with this person? And he'll tell you no, because of this.
Come
and
on,
I'm
boundaries.
like, all right.
And that's brave.
And that
You know,
doesn't
it's
stop.
brave.
That
It's
doesn't
brave.
stop from the parents being friends, but that also sets that he's like, listen, that's not my twist.
Right.
He or she are going that direction. I'm going this direction. So don't ask Dad why I'm not hanging out with this person. All right, cool, me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just be
I
respectful.
love that.
I like
And
that.
I think that list can translate to, post-graduation.
Yeah.
And I think that will help them become, the leaders or whoever they're going to become after they graduate.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And even if they're not the big prominent leaders, you got to be able to understand this. And I was so crazy that I was watching LL Cool J on a podcast with Shannon Sharp, which
Okay.
is very rare for me to do that. Because those two egos to me is like, it's like peanut butter and peanut butter together. My dreams and my expectations for him are not his dreams. He has to, I don't want him to follow me. I'll support whatever he's doing, but I need him to understand there are just cause and effect for everything. But live your life, be who you are, because you're always going to be with the way how me and you network and our vast
Right.
reach in the state of Pennsylvania. They're always going to be, oh, aren't you Dr. Danielle Martin's daughters? Oh, ain't you Ron Felder's kid? I don't,
You need
I
them
want
to
you to-
develop
yeah, I
their
want you to
own
have your
identity
own-
and persona.
I want you to have your own thing because
Mhm.
sooner or later, I'm gonna retire and you're gonna be the man in this spot. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's my son.
There you
Yeah,
go.
There you go.
Yeah,
That's a good
yeah,
point
that's good.
because, well, it's an ongoing joke. So we'll say this again.
Just call me another man. Did she just call me
I
another?
personally know Danielle very well. So does Ron. And she knows everyone. Whether we're in the same
Right.
city,
Mayor.
different state, you're
Man.
walking with her, someone will say, oh my gosh, is that Danielle? I'm like, is there someone you don't know? So I'm sure your girls feel that far more, on a bigger
They
scale
do.
than others. So for them to be able to branch out, be their own people, the fact that they want to go into the arts, and that's so far from the career that you're at.
So far, because y'all know I was looking for an educator.
Right.
And, I kept saying, what you think about art education? What you think about art therapy? But I had to be like, all right,
Allow
Danielle,
them.
sit down and let them do their thing. And they are really looking into animation and graphic arts. And they, as sisters, want to have their own animation business and all these things. So I support that.
Mhm.
I fully, wholeheartedly support that because that is what's going to make them happy. So for parents, don't do that. Don't try to make your child do something that you want them to do.
And that's
Allow them to explore. It's not going to kill them to have a semester of exploratory. So that's what they did this year. They've had a lot of exploratory art classes.
Mhm.
But out of that, they were able to say, okay, wood shop, that is not my thing.
Mhm.
Yeah, maybe not. Drawing, yes, loved it. We just came from DC for the weekend, and so they were all into the architecture of the buildings. And oh, mom, in our art history class, allow them to do that because
And the beauty of watching them
yes,
like
it's
flourish
so
and
beautiful.
develop
And
their
I'm
own
glad
dreams
I
and
didn't
persona.
really press for them to do something that they didn't want to do.
I have a question for you. How do you deal when your daughters say, hey, we hung out at this party in Philadelphia this weekend and you just don't know, or you look at their location, because I know you got them on location.
You better know it.
How do you feel when you see your child still hanging out at 2:00 in the morning, just randomly like at South Street at a cheesesteak spot?
They have
Well,
not.
how do y'all know
have,
if they want to announce that they've been on South Street at 2
I was
a.m.?
just getting ready to say
I mean, but how do you deal with that as a mother? Because
they have not been to a party yet that I know of.
Okay.
Okay. Some things I'm not sure that I want to know.
Right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But for this year, their thing, I have to give them credit. Like they weren't into that scene yet.
Mm.
Right? So like they went there knowing, all right, I'm here for a reason and I gotta keep it together or my mom gonna come. I think they still have a little bit of that. Like
my mom gonna pop out of nowhere.
So here's a full transparency. Their whole K-12 experience, I was like, nobody better ever call me but to only tell me about all the great things you're doing right. Right? And so I think they still have some of that little remnants, like, if my mom gotta come down here to Philly, I know she is going to turn the place upside down.
Okay.
That's their mentality. And I'm not disrupting that.
So you institutionalized them.
I did what I had to do. It's
all good. No,
well,
it's good.
They know the expectation.
Well, I think this is where the disparity comes. I think our younger women are held at a higher standard compared to the young men on campus, and which is wrong because they think everybody should be treated equally. But if you don't want that title on your you don't want that rep on your name.
We had to have that conversation.
Yeah, you don't want that rep on your name.
We had to have a very real and raw,
how you conduct
transparent conversation.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This is how you conduct yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Boundaries.
Absolutely.
And how they'll be viewed
by
others, whether it's
considered
whether it's fair or unfair.
Whether it's fair or not.
Some will pick this up.
You are the prize. You have the prize. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Hold on to it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So it was, and so this is what I'm talking about when I say growth is uncomfortable, right? Because some of those conversations, I was like, Lord Jesus, help me find the words, right? And then also help them be able to receive what I'm saying. And so sometimes when you say things or you do things or you have conversations, you don't know how they receive it, or you don't even know if they're listening. And it's like, why are we doing this? Months later, so this summer, I got all the stories. Mom, remember when you said such and such and such and such? Yeah, here's what happened and here's how we handled that. And on the inside, I'm like, yes. But, growth. So
key takeaway, communication is key.
And
I think you both have clearly been reiterating that, how Jaden came to you all and set you down, how your girls are coming back saying, Mom, this is what happened, or Mom, this is what's going on. So it's the constant communication. So for those who don't have that communication with their parents, it's never too late. For those who, are saying, hey, I don't have anyone, find someone to keep, an adult, to have that conversation, to keep it going, because it helps to keep them grounded. Probably for you as parents, it's a little heartwarming knowing, okay.
And that's what we have to be mindful of. Like, this is a different day.
100%.
Like, these young people are different.
And I like something that Danielle does. Since she works at main campus 1 day a week or two, 1 day a week, she usually tries to see them while she's there. And she makes the effort to see them. It's not really, they don't really want to make an effort to see us. So I kind of always tell Jada, like, listen, I'm going to be in your area. If you want to do lunch, what's up? Let's hang out. Even if it's for 30 minutes. Because he don't want to be around me. He as he told me the other day, I'm old dad now. I'm like, I'm old. Oh, like I had you when I was 22, buddy.
Well, with the gray hair popping out right
now. I know, it's there. I know this.
Tell him your seasons. You ain't
tell him it's Laurie's up here. But I make a conscious effort to try to be in his world and not have him come to my world.
Yeah.
Because. Even if he'll probably look at it like it's a free meal, but he'll talk to me like, hey, well, what's going on? X, Y, Z. All right.
But they love a free meal,
well,
right?
And
so those times that he's talking about, so for those who don't know, I work at Temple University. I travel down 1 day a week to main campus to teach on campus. And so after my class, after their class, we get together. I'm always bringing something. Whether it's a little home cooked meal,
right.
And we'll find a place on campus and just sit and but for the parent in me, that's so I can lay my eyes on you, make sure. I mean, I know what you sound like on the phone.
Let me see what your face. Let me see if there's no marks anywhere. Let me make sure.
Let me look at you and make sure you look like my kid. So that was good for me. And then, of course, the benefit for them is they getting home cooked meals in the middle of the week, or I'm bringing supplies or whatever it is. But it's still a way for us to remain connected, and I'm forever grateful for that.
All right. So, just a few more questions. For that person, and we're going to break it out because I think we did that last time.
Okay.
For the student, whether they're currently about to embark on a post-secondary experience or they're kind of starting out on their post-secondary experience, one or two pieces of advice to keep them motivated, on track, and to say, you know what, in spite of it all, keep pushing.
Dr. Lady first.
I'm going to go, I'm going to step out of the norm. What's your mental health like? Are you ready to be away? How are you feeling about the upcoming journey? How are you feeling about being away from home? What does that look like for you? What are you doing for self-care? Because all of that is going to matter when you get to the place where you're going, and you're stressed out for midterms or finals, or just some of those things. And I think that is a thing that's become more pronounced nowadays, especially after COVID, is how we're all feeling, and I don't think we talk about it enough. And so I think we need to do, for the student, you need to do a self-check, a heart check, and really see where you stand with your feelings and your mental health. Know that it's okay, right? But if you need assistance, of course, there's resources on any campus that you step on. But if you have a resource or a village prior to leaving to wherever you're going, that's going to help you as well. I went a different route.
I see that. So now I gotta be the optimistic one. All right. So for me, you gotta let them see what they're trying to embark on. I think a lot of parents have this facade of, I want to push my kid to a HBCU, or I want my kid to go to my alma mater, and those kids don't even fit there. You gotta just take them there and let them journey, as Crocodile Dundee said, go do a walkabout by themselves. Like, just because sometimes your kid might not be the best fit there, and you pushing you fight through it. They weren't ready. They told you from the beginning, I'm uncomfortable. I don't want to study. Some kids don't want to go to school.
Listen to your kids. Is what you're saying. Listen to.
Sometimes you have to push certain ones to, like Dr. Danielle said, to get them out of their comfort zone. But you have to just listen to them and say, oh man.
If they're telling you something and it's coming up in more than one ways, right? Yeah. Like they told you, right? They don't feel heard. Now they're coming to Aunt Tiff. All right, maybe I didn't feel heard here. Now I'm going to social media. Now I'm acting, you know what I mean? Now it's coming through in my behaviors. That is like a super flag. It's a red flag. It's loud.
You're ready to fight. You're ready to fire.
It's a public cry for help. And I think sometimes we try to live vicariously through our kids, or we want them to push. My kids don't have to be a doctor because I am. They don't have to do that. I wanted to show them what that journey looked like and all those things, and they saw that you can be successful through the storm, right? Great, fine. But if they are telling you something, if they are screaming it, if it's to the point where they've gone to social media, it's because they're not feeling heard, and it's time for some action, and it's time for some support. And sometimes we don't want to do that as parents because we want so badly for them to do something or be something, when really what they need from you is love, help, and support.
Allow them to be their authentic selves.
Yeah, and you as a parent have to be open to that, because sometimes as a parent you just some parents are just not ready. I was not ready for some of the things my son did. I was like, yo, who are you? But I've learned he is who he is. And it's okay.
So because your backgrounds, we got to pull that in.
Mm-hmm.
We know your background as an access partner and what you do.
Yeah.
We know Dr. Danny's background.
Yeah.
What advice, having gone through the experience now, can you give to others in your seat who are helping and molding and educating and talking to students about college career planning or anything like that? What are some of the key things that you're saying, now that I've experienced it from this side, I think we need to focus a little more here, or continue to focus on here and less here?
Definitely activism or advocacy. Students who have a voice, you need to use it. Parents, you need to allow them to be that advocate for themselves, or they may even get to the point where they're beginning to, maybe they join a club and they're advocating for others. But parents, if you want to know things, you need to make sure that you're on their forms or their FERPA, so that you can keep in touch. Otherwise, all access and all communications go to the student.
Because they're an adult and don't have
Because
to
they're
tell you
considered
anything.
an adult, and
Because
they don't
FERPA
have
said
to
so.
tell, because
Right.
FERPA said so. They don't have to tell you anything. And so I think that's, helps with communication too. Okay, I recognize you're at X university and you're doing your thing, but you need to put me on your FERPA, so that we can remain connected. I can help do this, whatever. So, but you have to, I would say right now, I'm just thinking of the climate that we're in, in society, politically, advocacy.
For me, it still goes back to making a plan. FERPA is definitely a plus, but one thing this generation is different than when we went to college.
Absolutely.
As a parent, and I suggest this to every parent, you can ask your child if you can have access to their school portal, so you can help them understand how to navigate your deadlines. Because at 18, 19, even 20, they're still not understanding these portals of how communication is coming. It's a new era. So it's okay for you to just help your child with, not do their homework, but just say, hey, Tiffanie, I saw on your portal you got a paper due next week. Do you need help with it? It's okay just make a plan, but be supportive and don't fall back and think they got it.
Right, because
they don't.
And for the parents who don't have, let's just say, like, the educational background, or this is new to them as well, you have a network and a plethora of resources and people in your communities that you can lean on to help you get this done. Because it's a lot. And I think even though we do this on the daily and we can go do presentations and we can spit, but when we are now in the seats, now I'm doing the work on the outside, but now I got to do this parent part too, and I'm like, woo, child.
Because some of the homework is different. That homework is
different. It's very different.
What?
It's very different. And so for the parent who does not have the background, you don't have to have the background, but you should have the village and network of support.
Just like we tell them to advocate for themselves, it's okay for us to advocate for their success. If I don't know how to functionally format a paper and doc, I need your help. I'm the math guy, but can you help me with this particular thing? I don't know what Jaden's thing is. Danielle might say, oh, let me see what it looks like. She might have a paper that she did.
Don't be afraid.
Here's an example.
Get that
Oh, okay, so this is what he wanted. Okay, this is what that professor wanted. All right, cool.
And you have to be able to set people up with
Dr.
their...
Danielle speaks professor frequently, like fluently now.
I'm great plug. I'm great plug. Right.
She speaks.
So you have to be able to link people together, right? I feel like one of my, purposes on earth is to connect people, right? And so, yeah.
Oh,
so in my undergrad class, there is a portion where we talk about financial aid and financial literacy and all the things. And so I call Ryan and I say, come on into my class. so that they can put a face to a name and they know that in this area, he's the mayor. This is Mr. Moneybags in the Philly area, and this is who you need to connect with. Right, you can't.
Oh!
Right. So I let my students, this is for you. This is a resource for you. So if you feel like you're not getting answers in the financial aid office or you have questions beyond financial aid, now you have a direct contact to Mr. Moneybags, the mayor, that you can ask, right? So we have to be able to, set them up with folks. Hey, and tell them, be real with your kids. Listen, I don't know nothing about that, but I'm great. Call Mr. Brian, and
there's always
you can
someone that can get them what they need. All right, so I think our remix has been pretty good.
Yeah.
Any last
transition?
I think so.
Dance floor still packed.
There we go.
There you go.
Any last parting words? Anything we missed that you all wanted to talk about you think is really important? I think we pretty much wrapped it up. But
think about when you're in, when your students are in their junior year, parents. I don't want to say put pressure on them, but explain to them that it's going to be a transition coming soon of what your career is going to be looking like when you get done this fun that you've been having for the past 4 years. What do you want to do? I think a lot of students are not focusing on their career after college. I think they just think that the job is just going to come to them, and sometimes they actually have to go get the job. Sometimes you have to go do the internships, externships. You just have to think about the future and don't think about the moment that you're in. Think about what's going to happen 3 or 4 years, because you don't want to go back living in a twin bed at your mom or dad's house. It's the reality of it, because your parents make you very uncomfortable. Like if they say, yo, you coming in at 2 o'clock in the morning, that ain't going to fly. I got to get up at 5.
there are rules.
There are rules. So I think that's a really good piece that we need to start talking about as they start in the latter part of the post-secondary education, undergrad.
Get prepared, because now the career world is kicking in.
I think I would say conversations are key, right? We live in a society where social media is king, right? But as you were just talking, you go on that job interview, we've been talking a lot about networking, but a lot of students don't have the soft skills because have my face in a phone all day and I'm texting. There may be no eye contact, or so I think those things. Teaching them how to do an elevator speech. It's one of the things that I do professionally for young people. You need to be able to introduce yourself to someone, shake their hand, and tell them who you are, where you're a student at, and what your interests are. Those things will carry you far. So I think that's my last little.
I like it.
All right.
All right.
So once again, thanks, Ron.
Thanks,
Dr. Danielle, for joining me today on the Higher Education Access Corner. I'm sure we'll have another opportunity to bring you all back on.
We're going to have a part 3.
I'm okay with that.
Okay.
Did your agent contact my agent? Because you got, it's negotiation nowadays. It's free agency out there.
I don't know about that.
We got to make sure, things
to all of our listeners, we thank you for joining us again on the Higher Education Access Corner. I just can't with this guy. Thank you all for tuning in.
I'll wait till the camera.
And we'll see you soon.